Injustice 3 is looking more likely every single day, or at the very least, Netherrealm could be working on a DC game instead of a Mortal Kombat game, which is the opposite of how I felt until recently, but lately the dominoes have all been lining up in a certain direction. First, we had a Multiversus developer dropping cryptic hints about Injustice 3, and then yesterday, the official WB Games account has started tweeting about Injustice 2, so it seems like they're building hype for another Injustice game. And at Summer Game Fest, those dominoes might finally topple. Many people online believe that's when we're gonna get the announcement for the next Netherrealm game, which honestly would be really cool. I'd love an update that soon, even if it's just a logo or even a verbal announcement from someone important. I would love to know that early which game Netherrealm was working on, or at the very least if it's Mortal Kombat focused or DC focused. Because don't forget that WB themselves said they're focusing on select IPs, including Mortal Kombat and DC, specifically Batman. And then soon after that, James Gunn admitted in an interview that he's been speaking with Netherrealm, which means they're working on a future DC game because, for anyone not aware, James Gunn is now the head of DC stuff, whether it's movies or games, all of it. So like mentioned earlier, those dominoes are stacking up, but even so, I still did not believe that Injustice 3 was coming. However, I'm starting to believe because on Twitter, WB Games UK has started tweeting a bunch of Injustice 2 stuff, which some people claim has been happening for years now, like they've never stopped promoting Injustice 2. I'm not sure if that's true. I scrolled down for a couple of months and saw that yes, they were occasionally talking about Injustice 2, but after that, I wasn't seeing as much Injustice tweets, and they post so many times a day that it's hard to scroll back several months, right? You go past 15 tweets and it's been one day. So maybe it is possible that WB Games UK has never stopped tweeting about Injustice 2, but all I know is recently they've been doing tweets like this. Who remembers this moment? Who's your all-time favorite Injustice 2 character? Which means more than you might think, because Injustice 2 is an old game. It released before Mortal Kombat 11, which came out in 2019, so years before that we had Injustice 2. And now for some reason, WB is advertising this years-old game all over again. Why are they doing that? This game is not recent, and they're still tweeting about it. What is going on here? I think it's very possible that WB is trying to build hype for Injustice 3, which is what many other people online are theorizing. Which means I could lose that bet, which I foreshadowed earlier. For anyone not aware, the Combat Kings has a little gamble going right now. It's currently 2v2. Myself and the Fourth Snake believe the next game from Netherrealm is going to be Mortal Kombat focused, and not Injustice 3. However, Sonic XD and Babe Ruthless do think Injustice 3 is the next game and not a Mortal Kombat sequel. And whichever side loses that bet has to buy a copy of that game for the other side. So for example, I'd have to buy Injustice 3 for Sonic or Babe Ruthless. Unless I'm right and Mortal Kombat is the next game after all, in which case they buy me a copy of that game instead. There's no huge money down or anything like that, but it's still a fun wager, and I'm starting to sweat over here. I think I might actually lose this gamble, which is wild to think about, because look in my eye when I tell you I was 90% certain that the next game from Netherrealm was still gonna be a Mortal Kombat sequel. Mainly because that IP makes more money, and I think WB cares more about money right now than anything else. Meanwhile, the Injustice games do not make very much money at all, at least not in terms of sales. That's right, and it's much worse than you might think, because believe it or not, Mortal Kombat vs. DC sold more copies than Injustice 2, which is wild to think about because of how old MK vs. DC is and how much less popular gaming was as a whole. There were way more gamers when Injustice 2 came out, and yet it still sold less copies. That's how bad it did. And keep in mind, it outsold Injustice Gods Among Us, so that tells you how badly the first installment sold. Injustice 2 sold more copies than that game, but compared to MK vs. DC, it still lost, which is a crazy low amount of sales. However, with that said, units sold is not everything. It's possible that Injustice 2 made a lot of money from DLC, because it did have 3 different combat packs, and around the same number of characters for DLC as Mortal Kombat 1, so it kept going, which means it must have sold a decent amount of DLC characters. Which means overall, when you put all that money together, I would not be shocked if Injustice 2 still made more money than MK vs. DC, mainly due to DLC sales, even though it sold less copies of the game overall. But regardless, my main point is that Injustice does not sell that well. It does not make a ton of money up front, which is what I think WB WB Games wants more than anything, because that's why they ended Mortal Kombat 1, supposedly. They want big money right now, and even though Mortal Kombat 1 DLC sells okay, a new game would sell much better, and on top of that, people aren't super happy with Mortal Kombat 1. It's doing better now reputation-wise than it ever has before, but still, it did divide the community quite a lot. Many players hate the cameo system, they don't like the new era, there's many things about the new game that players don't like. It did divide the community, which definitely could be one more reason that WB pulled the plug and said make a new Mortal Kombat game or just make a new game in general. Up until now, I really did think that money was the key motivator, but suddenly I'm realizing there could be one other big motivator, and that's the overall malice towards Mortal Kombat right now. I do think more players like the series than hate it right now, but still, hate for this game has never really been this high. It's definitely worse than ever. Like mentioned earlier, a good chunk of the MK community does not like the new game, so it's possible that WB is doing Injustice 3 instead to give the community a break and time to simmer down before the new Mortal Kombat game gets announced and released. Or in other words, even though Mortal Kombat games do make way more money for WB than Injustice games do, Mortal Kombat 1 made so many players angry that WB said let's wait a bit for the sequel and do Injustice 3 instead, that way the community has time to simmer down and warm up to the next Mortal Kombat game without all that anger and vitriol still in their veins. That honestly could be the main reason we're getting Injustice 3 next instead of a Mortal Kombat game, but with all that said, there's still no guarantee that Injustice 3 is the next game. I'm just saying it looks like the wind is blowing more in that direction as of late. Because like the Fourth Snake pointed out on Combat Kings, the new Superman movie by James Gunn is releasing soon as well, and it's possible that the next DC game made by Netherrealm could be a tie-in to that new universe. So instead of Injustice 3, we still get a DC fighting game that plays similar to the Injustice games, but it's set in the new James Gunn universe with Superman, Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl, all the characters we see in the trailer, which I definitely think could happen. That's a big possibility for the next game. Maybe Netherrealm is not making a sequel to Injustice, or at least not a direct sequel, and instead tying in characters from the James Gunn universe. Or even if we do get Injustice 3, it's possible that several characters from the James Gunn film are going to be in the Injustice game, either directly, meaning they're straight from the film to the game, or it could just be the characters but set in the Injustice universe. In other words, we still get Hawkgirl, but it's gonna be the Injustice Hawkgirl, not the one from the new Superman James Gunn movie. However, as you all know, I love making these videos interactive, so let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Which game would you prefer? If we get a DC fighting game next from Netherrealm Studios, then would you prefer Injustice 3 and all that comes with that series, including the gameplay, the characters, the storyline, etc., or would you prefer a new DC fighting game that follows the new canon of the James Gunn universe, his Superman, his characters, all that stuff? Would that game be better in your opinion? Would you prefer that game and those characters over the Injustice series? And if you do prefer that idea, would you still like the gameplay of the Injustice games but with an overhaul, less zoning, less annoying keep away, all that stuff, but still similar gameplay to Injustice 1 and 2 but set in the new James Gunn universe? Would you like if Netherrealm did that, or would you prefer a completely new set of gameplay, right? Entirely new mechanics, or maybe it even plays like Mortal Kombat 1 but without the cameos, because none of us want cameos to come back. Even I myself, who liked cameos in Mortal Kombat 1, I still don't want them to come back in the sequel, and I've made that opinion very clear. So forget about cameos, take them out of the equation, and just think about the other gameplay aspects of Mortal Kombat 1 and if that would do well in the upcoming DC game by Netherrealm. And let me know if you'd prefer that gameplay over what we've had in past Injustice games. Me personally, I like the gameplay from Injustice. I like how it's different from the Mortal Kombat series. I enjoy that dichotomy where both games play very differently. The Mortal Kombat games have 4 attack buttons, Injustice only has 3, it's got no block button, it's got a trait button, all that awesome stuff, and also the environment attacks, which I don't prefer in the Mortal Kombat games. They were okay, but in the Injustice games I enjoyed them way more because I feel like it blended better with the gameplay, which is why in my opinion, even if we do get a brand new DC fighting game set in a different universe to tie in with the James Gunn films, I'd still prefer the gameplay to be similar to the Injustice series because I do rather enjoy it and I want it to stay different from Mortal Kombat. Just tone down the zoning and I'll be happy. And when I say tone down, I mean tone all the way down, like onto the floor. 2 keep away characters is fine, 3 zoning characters is the max. After that, Netherrealm, you're pushing it, and I'm warning you, I mean it, I'm putting my foot down. Players do not like the keep away, they do not like the zoners, stop doing it. Even in Mortal Kombat 11, there was way too many zoners, so tone it down, and hear me clearly, I'm saying to tone down the zoning. Don't buff everybody else to deal with the zoning because you're not good at that. With all due respect, you simply don't know how to give players tools to deal with keep away. So instead, just tone down the keep away and almost remove it completely. That's the smart move. I'm sorry if I come off as rude or condescending, but the fact that Injustice 1 and 2 had such infuriating levels of zoning needs to stop, okay? You can't have an entire series known for having really annoying zoning that a majority of players hate. Stop doing that. But alright everyone, there you have it. It looks like the next Netherrealm game really could be Injustice 3, or at the very least a DC fighting game. Or at least that's where all the evidence is pointing. And let me know in the comments if I missed any other evidence from developers or other key people that have been teasing Injustice or the next DC fighting game from Netherrealm Studios. Because as for me, that's about it for today. Leave a like down below if you enjoyed the video, it helps the channel out a ton, and then finish that combo by subscribing and ringing that bell so you never miss any future videos. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.